All right, the time to begin the meeting, 5:30 PM. We started a little bit early because of our budget process. This is a special meeting of the Finance Organization and Personnel Committee. This meeting is broadcast live on the City of Keene YouTube channel and channel 1302. The video is also streamed on the city's website and is posted on the website by the end of the next business day, barring any technical difficulties. Copies of the printed agenda are available in the wall pockets just as you enter the meeting room. The public and other councilors will be recognized to ask questions and make comments on the agenda item under discussion. After being recognized, all remarks are to be made through the chair. I will not recognize an individual a second time until everyone who wishes to speak to the topic has had a chance to speak. Anyone who wishes to address this committee is asked to go to one of the microphones and identify themselves by name and address prior to speaking. Written comments from the public will be accepted at the city clerk's office until Tuesday at 1 p.m. Next Tuesday. Our minute taker participates remotely. We ask you please to make sure that your microphones are turned on and ensure that all of us can hear you. If we don't turn it on, we're going to hear from somebody above to make sure that we do that. Thank you for joining us this evening. We have a fairly lengthy agenda, but it's nothing new for most of us. And we will begin. First, I want to say thanks for those in the public that are coming. Thanks to the staff and everyone who's had a little bit to do with this large booklet that recognizes really what the city does all year long. Is defined very well in the budget. With that, Madam Manager, could you
Sure.
give opening remarks?
Yes.
Please.
So first of all, the budget is available on our website. It's on the very front page of our website. It's also under the Finance Department. If you want to follow along, we're competing with the Fire Department.
One of our services.
That's it. And so I'm just going to go over just a quick overview, which is also available online. It's an executive summary of the changes in the budget. So the fiscal 27 general fund operating budget totals $57 million and is within the city's fiscal policy limits. The proposed budget is approximately $684,000 below the allowable limit, including compliance with the CPI-based cap on property tax growth with permitted exclusions and established debt service amounts. The city's portion of the tax rate is projected to increase by 91 cents or 6.7% to $14.52 per thousand. The water and sewer funds, operated as separate enterprise funds, are each projecting a 5% rate increase to support the proposed budgets. And over the upcoming year, we will be taking a closer look at the revenue trends in water and sewer. The water sewer revenues are trending down, and so we will need to look at what adjustments might be necessary for the future. The key drivers in the budget is the budget is increasing approximately $2.06 million, which is 4.8%. And roughly $1.37 million of that is attributable to wages and benefits, driven primarily by contractual obligations across the city's collective bargaining agreements. And we are in union negotiations right now with a couple of those bargaining units. The balance in the budget reflects increases in key operating costs, including utilities, insurance, maintenance, professional services, software, and other expenses associated with the city's transition to the cloud-based system. We don't usually see such a large increase in the operating budget of the IT department, but we've had several changes that have brought a lot of our applications to the cloud, and there has been some additional expense associated with that. The budget utilizes also about $3.8 million in unassigned fund balance to offset capital costs and stabilize the tax rate. This is a strategic short-term approach that aligns with the capital improvement program and helps manage inflationary pressures. But as the council knows, that's not something we can rely on. It's not a stable revenue for us to rely on in the future. It needs to be used very strategically. To bring the budget into fiscal compliance, it was necessary to make adjustments to the capital plan, which is page 51 in your books. And we'll talk a little bit more about that tonight and what adjustments we needed to make. And one of the things that I like to point out in the capital plan is in the fiscal 27 budget, we include more than $9.3 million in grant funding, and that's quite impressive across our organization. We have department heads and members of the department who are very successful at getting grants for the things that we need. Public safety remains the city's largest service area. The fiscal 27 budget reflects continued efforts to align staffing with service demand. The city added 4 firefighter positions in fiscal 24 and another 4 in fiscal 25 to support the operation of a 3rd ambulance. And these additions were necessary to maintain service levels as the call volumes continued to increase. So if you look back to fiscal 24, fire department wages have increased approximately $1.4 million. I wish I could tell you this evening that that is the end, but we are in need of another staffing adjustment, which will be coming forward and has not been included in this budget because right now we are operating at 12 members per shift, and that is what's required to operate 3 ambulances. But if we have anyone out on sick or vacation day, we're filling that shift with overtime, which is not sustainable. We also are talking to Cheshire County about backup services for the ambulance, and that is also something that's not in this proposed budget. In the past, Cheshire County EMS has provided backup services for the last couple of years at no charge. There will be a charge moving forward. However, the city also provides services to Cheshire EMS, and so we are looking to have conversations about what that might mean in terms of the value of the services we provide versus the value of the services they provide. So while this budget is balanced and it's policy compliant, there are several trends that warrant attention. The city remains highly dependent upon property taxes. This is compounded by New Hampshire's school funding structure, where the state has a constitutional obligation to provide an adequate education, but instead relies heavily on property taxes. That's beyond the control of the city council, and it's not something that we are reviewing, but it is something that we should be mindful of as it continues to be a concern into the future. There's no fair way right now of funding education in the state of New Hampshire, and it's in need of a complete overhaul, in my opinion. Personnel and benefit costs continue to grow and represent the largest and least flexible portion of the budget, and that's because we are a service organization. So really, the budget is based on the services we provide. Revenue growth outside of the property tax remains modest. At the same time, debt service continues to trend upward as capital investments are implemented. While these remain within policy limits, this is something that we'll need to monitor as we continue to move forward. I think that's the majority of the highlights I wanted to mention this evening. The month of May is always a very busy month for all of you and all of us as we meet multiple times throughout the month to review the budget. And tonight, your agenda is quite full. I apologize for that, but we had a meeting scheduled for May 26th that conflicted with a planning board meeting in this room, and we needed to readjust the schedule, which meant some of the departments that were originally planned for that evening were moved to this evening. And usually we try to save it mostly for outside agencies because that's typically a full room. But tonight you do also have some departments to review as well. The public hearing on the budget has been scheduled for June 4th at 7 p.m. and the vote on the budget is June 18th. And if you haven't seen the social media, Rebecca Landry and Asa Kramer have been doing great work on getting the word out, and hopefully that's part of the reason we get good attendance at these sessions, trying to get the word out for people to participate at this level of budget review and ask their questions now. I don't know if the finance director has anything to add. I sort of covered the drivers of the budget. No? All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So essentially, what we heard from the manager is really covered in the overview, page 6 and 7 in our book. Moving on from there, 6 to 33 is the general fund revenues and expenditures. Any questions there? Debt service, 32 to 35. All right. Mayor and city council. Go ahead. All right.
So in the mayor and city council, in the mayor and city council budget, there was last year a change to add $3,500, excuse me, to training. That did not get carried forward, so that will be an administrative change that we are recommending, $3,500 in the mayor and city council training line.
Good evening, Terry Hood, City Clerk. Although we don't control the majority of the line items in this budget, we do have a couple that we maintain funding in to do some of the operational things we need to do for the council. I wanted to point out that we did ask for some supplemental funding in a couple of our line items in the mayor and council budget. They include an additional $1,000 for legal advertising. We found that we have an uptick in the number of land development code amendments that are happening, and so we needed to make an adjustment for that, as well as the just general increase in the cost of print advertising. So, in addition, we have also asked for the council official expense account to increase by approximately $1,700. This covers the cost of food, increases in that cost, as well as we are looking to purchase one online subscription for the Keene Sentinel for counselors to have access to the Sentinel if they would like to have that. And then finally, we asked for a $200 increase in our online code hosting in other services because that has increased. You'll also notice that last year there was a request for $3,500 in the PC replacement fund, and that request is again in there this year. And Heather Fitzsimon was going to talk a little bit about why that funding request is in there.
So the Chromebooks that you usually use every council meeting, they're getting to the point of where their shelf life is pretty close to it. We have 20 of them currently, and there are 4 of them that are no longer available to be used. So we really needed to replace them. And so they will be replaced this year with this budget with another $3,500 to be able to go towards that. So.
And we'll add that they have been added to the PC replacement fund for the future so that we can get them on a cyclical replacement schedule. I believe it's every 5 years, so we won't have a big hit each year. It'll be a smaller incremental increases in order to pay for these in 5 years from now. So, and that's all I have. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks, City Clerk. Question on the Keene Sentinel subscriptions. Is this something that we would go out and do for, I would assume, for all of the counselors? Would it be at the request of the counselors to get that subscription? I'm just wondering how we're deciding how that money would be
Sure.
allocated
So we actually
there.
received a request for access to the Keene Sentinel, and we spoke to the Sentinel, and they said that we could purchase an account and have it be a shared account. And so we plan to open an account on your behalf and give you the credentials to log into it. Good? Thank you.
On page 95, following in the big book.
Andrew Mueller, City of Keene IT Director. Yep, 95 is where it starts. So I'm going to be talking about 3 different accounts tonight that make up the budget. The 500 is what I call it, is the operating account. 501 is our cloud application, and then 460 is the PC replacement fund. Yeah, so on page 96, about a third of the way down is where the operating account starts. This account's got our professional services, tech services, cyber, software and services, basically all the software and the services that we use in IT to support the organization comes out of this, with the exception of anything in the cloud, which we'll talk about in a second. Surprisingly, this account is actually a little bit less than it was last year. There's reasons for that. The city manager hit on it a little bit. I'll talk briefly about why this count has decreased. It's not something we can look forward to any other time in the future, so we can really take those good feelings now, because when we talk about 501, we will not have those good feelings. But in the 500, the biggest one was some of our pieces of software moved from on-premise to the cloud, into the cloud application. So we're no longer paying it out of this account. We're paying it out of our cloud app account. That's not really a savings. It's just kind of moving money into a different account to pay for it. One of the things we were able to do as well, whenever we can, we use multi-year contracts. That helps us pay the price up front to software or to a service. It enables us to sort of know that they're not going to increase it at a variable amount, like we know what we're paying for. So what we saw this year is we're sort of on year 2 of maybe a 3-year contract where we don't necessarily have to pay this year because we've paid the initially. We've also been able to consolidate technology, especially in the cybersecurity world. Generally, when new threats come out and then there's new services or there's new support for it, they're sort of one-off pieces of software, and then eventually sort of the bigger companies will either buy those smaller companies up or they'll consolidate. And so we've been able to consolidate some of our security software into one big vendor. That saves us money, and it also kind of helps out the IT staff. And then the last piece that helped this account was we have several large equipment replacements coming up. And when we replace these large equipments, it was talked about in the CIP budget, the networks and the servers. We buy support and warranties with them when we buy it. So what we're not doing this coming year is we're not paying for extended support for these ones that we're replacing. Again, it's just these smaller things that help kind of take away some of the sting of this 500 account. So that's sort of the general reasons why it went down a little bit. Again, not something we can count on in the future, but that's that operating budget. Any questions on that?
Thank you. So I'm curious, I'm a regular person, how is it that the city comes to the determination that shifting from our hardware, storing our information here per se, let's say local, versus the cloud? What is the determination process that says, because once we're in the cloud, we're committed to that. We have to pay them whatever. I hear your statement of contract, which gives us a set period. But when that contract needs to be renewed, we're a little bit at their beck and call because we're already vested. So I'm just wondering about that decision-making process. How does that happen?
Yeah, for sure. And certainly the second part of your comment is well noted, and we'll talk about that next, about sort of being under their thumb once we're in the cloud, for sure. There's 2 ways. There's one by choice and one by necessity. And some companies are just making that choice for us. Unfortunately, they're saying, sure, you can continue to host it, but it's going to be, much more expensive, and you're not going to get the updates, and you're going to have to pay extra. Or you can use our cloud service, which we're pushing all our customers to. And honestly, that's the majority of what happens. In those instances where we still have a choice, either the writing's on the wall and we know it's going to change down the line anyway, and we're kind of trying to get ahead of it, or it just makes sense financially, or the overhead of it is just so great that we really want to offload it. It's literally costing us more money to keep it here. So, I mean, there's definitely thought that goes into it, but a lot of time it's just our hand being forced by the way technology is going.
Can I follow up? So, to the next question. We all hear about these. How do we feel that our data is safe? We hear about Palantir, having access, magical access to everything in the world. How do we as citizens feel that what we're putting up in the cloud is safe, remains discreet?
Sure. So I can't speak for what the citizens are doing, because that's a whole different thing. But here, for us as a government entity, we being the vendors, really have to follow certain rules to work with the government. For instance, Microsoft has a whole sort of cloud that's dedicated to just the government side. It's called GCC, and that has, all their servers have to be on United States soil or their allies and stuff. So there's certain guardrails that are put up to protect the data when you're working for a government entity. In the end, in this day and age, I don't know that I could say with certainty that anything is 100% safe. So we just try to do our due diligence and make sure that our users know, because a lot of times the way our information gets breached is through users. So we try to certainly take care of that aspect. If a nation state comes in and wants to, hack the Pentagon and our information, there's not much we can do about it, unfortunately.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I get it. Okay, and then at the bottom of that page is the 501s, where 501 starts. That's the cloud application account. Again, this is now where we see a jump from last year to this year. Before I talk about sort of the big players in that, some of the smaller things that happened, and this is to what Councilor Chalice was saying, we hope for 5% upgrade or 5% increases every year from the software vendors. We hope for that. A lot of times they come back and surprise us with a 10%. Microsoft, to your point, Microsoft changed their licensing model this year, and as a result, their increase was like 12%, something we weren't certainly didn't want, but we're so far down that Microsoft tunnel, we have to pay it. Our finance software is another big line item that went up by about 7%. So again, these increases certainly affect that budget. And then the big piece was the police software is going from the on-premise to the cloud this next year. They're sunsetting their software. They're forcing everybody to the cloud. That's a large, and it's costing more money on top of it. And so that's a large migration from the 500 to the 501 account. So that definitely pushed the bottom line of the 501 account up a little bit more. And then the last piece was community development was they were unhappy and their needs weren't being met by the software they've been using. So they went out and purchased some software that's going to hopefully be much better for them. And after the first year, IT takes over the support and maintenance costs of that. And so you're seeing that bump as well in one of the line items. So, all those together kind of is why we have this big bump here. Yeah, okay, great, thanks. And then the last account is 460. That's the PC replacement account, and that is on page-ish 189. I think where the numbers are, 193. So this is the account that we use to pay for the replacements of desktops and laptops, tablets, iPads, that sort of stuff. This year, we have a very manageable 66 devices to replace. Generally, it's double that. So that's going to be really good for the employee that manages that. He's falling behind on some of the other stuff that we like him to do, so it'll be a great year for him to catch up on that. The one thing we're facing in this account is the volatility of the hardware market. The pricing is, I would say it's jumping all around, but it's really just jumping upwards. It's and I don't see that stopping anytime soon. This is sort of directly related to AI and the AI market kind of buying all the hardware. So we're going to try to purchase our systems early in the year, get the best prices we can, hopefully get the best technology we can for the budget that we've set for this. Real quick, I want to just kind of touch on the importance of this account. So myself and two of the team members were invited to this postmortem of by this organization that was part of a very, very large breach. And they were nice enough to sort of open their doors and invite IT professionals in and say, this is what happened, this is how it happened, and this is and we're still in the midst of it. They're in month 9 of this, and they're estimating it's going to be over a year until they're fully back to where they want to be. And on the very somber car ride home, we were talking about one of the key things that made this very bad breach catastrophic, and it had to do with the PCs that they had in their environment. They were all sort of older. They weren't running, because of budget constraints, they weren't running the newest operating system. They didn't have the security on it, and so it turned a very bad day into several bad months. And so, it certainly made me appreciate that we're doing this, and that we've always gotten the support to do this, and hopefully we will continue to get it, because all the security stuff that we do, that we layer on top, it all starts with this foundation of good hardware, and the hardware doesn't have to be bleeding edge, and we never go after the bleeding edge stuff, but we do make sure that the systems are good enough to run the latest operating systems and have all the latest security, so that we don't end up like this organization. So that's sort of my pitch for this account. It doesn't get a lot of love, so I just wanted to, let you guys know it's very important. So, that's the end of that. Yeah. Any questions there? No. Okay, great. Thanks, guys.
Just one item to note with the outside agencies. So we're looking to actually change how the numbers are presented in the book next year. The department request is actually the committee recommendation to the city manager. It's not what was actually requested by the outside agency. So for next year, we'll be looking to actually include what's requested by the outside agency in that column, just so that that makes it a little clearer. And the descriptions also need to be updated. I think that the information that you see in there is actually from the prior year's budget book. So just so that there isn't any confusion with that, there may be some items in the description that actually related to prior year.
Okay. So we're going to get an overview from our
Good evening,
leader in
Mr.
this
Chairman,
area.
Committee members. I'm Natalie Darcy, the Human Service Manager. So Human Services has traditionally been asked to take the lead on outside agency funding. The funding has been to assist human service organizations who provide services to clients that if the organization were not in operation, Human Services would have to pay according to the law for that service. A committee is formed to review applications for outside agency funding each February. This year, representatives from Human Services, the Keene Police Department, and 2 city councilors sat on the committee. This fiscal year, Human Services received 13 requests for outside agency funding. Now, recommendations for funding are based in part on each agency's response under the following established criteria. Number 1, the impact on the city if the agency were not in operation. 2, the agency provides a service with a direct financial impact on expenditures of city departments. 3, the number and percentage of Keene residents served by the agency. 4, other local service agencies providing similar services. 5, financial impact in terms of prevention and intervention services that potentially save future city spending. And 6, demonstrated efforts to cooperate and avoid duplication with other agencies. The committee met in March to discuss agency requests. The committee then discussed and made recommendations, which were then forwarded to the city manager for budget review. So some representatives from those agencies are here tonight to speak about the wonderful work and services they provide to our community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And that packet of submittals from all the agencies that are requesting funding was provided to the counselors by email, so you may have remembered seeing it. And there's a wealth of information in there. It'll give you an idea of why these discussions have come to a decision on each one in a fashion that they have. So we'll ask, well, I'm going to use the list that we have in our book and offer time for any agency to come forward and speak to the Finance Committee. We'll start with the Community Volunteer Transportation. Somebody here? All right. Senior Center. Mr. Tees.
Thank you. Hello, I'm Cameron Tees, President of the Keene Senior Center Board and past Executive Director. I want to thank the city for your longstanding support in a lot of ways. Financially, Brian Mattson was on our board, Andy Bohannon. The city has been a very important part of our history. We're going to have our 70th anniversary next year, and we're looking to do some celebration. We're at our new location on Marlborough Street, renting from HCS, and that's working out very well. We're actually 2.5 years into it. I'd say the primary objective of the Keene Senior Center is to help older adults address social isolation. We all know that has a lot of damaging effects on people, both physical and psychologically. Many of our older, I live alone. Many people live alone, over 65. I think it's about a third of the people on maybe a national basis. In Keene, 65-plus household income, those households with people 65 and over, 31% of them make a household income of less than $49,000. And I think the number for under $20,000 is pretty startling. I think it's almost 20% of those folks. So the Senior Center is committed to accessibility and affordability. We recently had to increase our membership fee to $120 from $75 for an individual. Even so, and Keene Rotary Club is giving scholarships to people that, with certain criteria, that is just too much of an impact on. But even so, that's 14% of our budget, the membership fees. So we have to raise the rest through various ways, and the city's support is critical and has been, and we appreciate it. We're running a deficit. We have been for several years. We worked on updating our strategic plan last year, and we're working towards a sustainable financial picture. Part of that is starting to take investment income from the restricted funds we do have. The majority of that was from the sale of our building on 70 Court Street. We have many bright spots. We're increasing membership. The parking that we have at HCS is just wonderful. That was a major challenge, as you know, at 70 Court. Kim Rumrell, our executive director, has been there for almost 2 years. She's doing a great job. She's unable to be here tonight, so I'm glad to stand in for her. She put together the application, and I thought she did a really nice job on that. Another bright spot is all the collaborations. That's part of our legacy with the City Rec Department, for instance, and pickleball, with the Y, with HCS and Friendly Meals. Our signature programs, Cheshire Village at Home, helping people stay in their homes and providing transportation. The super seniors who participate in the DeMar and the 100-Mile Club. Those are two signature programs. We're very thankful for being able to participate in the DeMar and the Elm City Rotary for facilitating that. We have a veterans group that now meets on Tuesday mornings and has a good participation. And we have 14 people on our board. Oakle Johnson, my predecessor, put a big emphasis on this. And we have 7 or 8 new board members over the last 2 years that are going to really make a difference. So we're going to continue to emphasize accessibility, affordability, collaborations, and sustainability. And with the partnership with the city, we're optimistic that we're going to meet the challenges of the next 70 years.
Thank you.
Questions?
Questions?
Thank you.
Keene Community Kitchen? Okay. Elderly Meals on Wheels. Southwestern Community Services. Oh, there we go.
Sorry, I'm here from Meals on Wheels. Good evening. My name is Katie Hart, and thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of Home Healthcare, Hospice, and Community Services and Meals on Wheels today. I'm here to advocate for Meals on Wheels and for the 210 Keene residents who depend on it every single day. Our ask is just $19,575, which is 57 cents per meal, to help deliver the 34,000 meals and daily safety checks to some of our city's most vulnerable older adults and people with disabilities. I want to put a face to who we're talking about. In our most recent participant survey, 82% of our clients live alone. And that's a stat that Cam was referencing as well, but that's right here in our city. 82% of our clients live alone. 38% tell us that their delivery driver is the only person that they see all week. 65% say that Meals on Wheels is their primary source of nutrition, and 51% do not have enough money for food, and that is a figure that has grown nearly 9% in just 1 year. These are not people who have other options. Without this program, they would skip meals, they would face preventable health crises, or require emergency interventions from first responders. And that brings me to return on your investment. For every dollar that the city puts into Meals on Wheels, we estimate considerable annual savings for the city through emergency calls avoided, ER visits prevented, nursing home placements delayed. The city's $19,000 investment is quite literally paying for itself many times over. We are the only program in the area providing home-delivered meals and daily wellness checks Monday through Friday. There is no backup for many of these people. If we can't sustain the program, the burden shifts directly to the city, human services, emergency responders, and our families that are already stretched very thin. 98% of our participants rate this program positively, and 83% say that it is vital to their ability to stay home in their own home. We're asking the City of Keene to please continue your partnership with us, not just as a funder, but as a co-investor in the health and independence and the dignity of your residents. And we are very grateful for your support. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you. Questions? All right. Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much. Okay, Keith, your turn.
There you go.
Thank you very much. My name is Keith Tebow. I'm representing Southwestern Community Services this evening. Southwestern Community Services is your community action agency that serves both Cheshire and Sullivan counties in southwestern New Hampshire. Keene is a big partner with us, and it is our community that between Keene and Claremont you vie with one another for how much assistance Southwestern Community Services is able to provide. But in Keene anyway, last year we were able to help Keene households 2,400 times with almost 4,500 units of service. That represents about $3.6 million worth of direct assistance to Keene households. What I'm doing tonight here, we do with every city and town in our 2 counties. We don't just pick on Keene, so to speak, but it's called our town funding effort, and we ask every community within the 2 counties to provide us with 1.5% up to $15,000, which is what our request is to the city, of the direct assistance that we give that town or city. So all told, we collect about $150,000 worth of funding this way. And like the city's Human Services Department, Southwestern Community Services often gets requests for assistance that just don't fit our programs. And that's what this money is used for. That's what these funds are used for, is to fill that gap that just doesn't, no other program exists. So maybe someone's already exhausted all of their assistance for energy, and it's the end of February, and they need just another half a quart of wood or something like that. We find ways to do things with these funds. That being said, we also find ways to do things with your Human Services Department here. What we rely upon as much as this assistance that we're talking about tonight is the collaboration that we do every day. That is hard to monetize, but certainly does provide the city of Keene with a wonderful, wrong word, an effective safety net for the for folks who show up at the city, show up in the city, and really need assistance. It takes a team to do that, and I like to think that between us, many of the folks sitting behind me as well, and the city's Human Service Department, that together we provide for the very the neediest folks, the most unfortunate people that exist in our community and beyond. So I'll take any questions. We really appreciate your past assistance through this process, and certainly I'm ready to take any questions you might have or anything else, because we're a pretty broad program, so I understand people kind of, most folks just touch us in certain ways. And a program that I didn't mention, but it is one of our programs that I think is, again, a collaboration with the city, is our Head Start program. We have 3 wonderful Head Start classrooms that are filled to the brim. My office window looks down on the entrance every day, and I see kids coming and going, both from their parents to the program, but also back and forth to the playground. So I get to hear that most days. It's a perk that I get. So again, if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to try to address them.
Thank you. Questions up here? Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
100 nights.
Um, 100 nights and the SES shelter is included as part of the Human Services budget and was moved a few years ago from the outside agency.
Harbor Care. Monadnock Regional Child Advocacy. Transporting. Different hat. The bus driver now.
Hello, me again. Hi, again, my name is Katie Hart, and I'm here to speak on behalf, again, of Home Healthcare, Hospice, and Community Services, and this time for our City Express bus, Keene's only public fixed-route transportation system, and to ask for your continued investment in this essential service. The City Express isn't just a bus. It's how a senior with no car gets to a doctor's appointment. It's how a person with a disability gets to work. It's how a low-income family gets to the grocery store. 2 buses run Monday through Friday, 24 stops across the city of Keene, connecting residents to healthcare, to food, to jobs, to social services, to community life. And there are no other comparable or affordable transportation options available to them. In just the first 6 months of this fiscal year, HCS Transportation Services provided nearly 4,000 trips to medical facilities alone. And when people can't get to care, they end up in emergency rooms, or worse. Using conservative estimates, we calculate that HCS Transportation Services prevents hundreds of avoidable emergency incidents a year, representing, again, a significant cost savings to the city. Here's another critical piece. Funding from the City of Keene isn't just supporting a local service. It's unlocking federal dollars. The City of Keene contributions provide the required local match for the Federal Transit Administration funding. Without your investment, we cannot access those federal funds. Fuel and labor costs are rising, and demand for transportation is prevalent, especially as the city of Keene's senior population increases. We're asking you for your continued partnership to keep this lifeline running. The City Express keeps Keene moving, and your investment keeps the City Express running. So thank you for your continued support, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you. Questions here? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Casa? Kids Collaborative.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight. Thank you to the people that participated on the Outside Agency Committee. I know that's a lot of work to sort through this, all of the requests, and thank you for the Finance Committee for reviewing the request. The Kids Collaborative's vision is to help kids that don't have the financial means become successful adults, and we want to accomplish that by giving them free access to out-of-school and summer learning opportunities so they can gain the skills that they need to develop in the classroom and into their adult life. The 80% of the households that we serve are single mothers, and the median average income is $25,000. The statistics show that 65% of children that are born or living in poverty stay there through adulthood. And what's really unique about our organisation or our model is that we are an asset-based community development model. So we're leveraging the high-quality programs that are existing in our community, and we are reinvesting the money that we're investing in these kids, and we're reinvesting it into the community and supporting those organisations. Last year, there were 660 kids that were eligible for our program. We provided 1,300 rides, just simply because our public transportation, as much as it is very vital of what we do have, it's just doesn't cover all of the hours and the needs to get kids to these programs. They participated in 60,000 hours of activities and 691 weeks of summer camp. So we're very grateful for your support. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Questions here? Thank you. Monadnock Crisis Violence. There we go.
Good evening. My name is Hunter Kirshner. I'm the Interim Executive Director of the Monadnock Center for Violence Prevention. Thank you so much for your time and attention this evening. And so the Monadnock Center for Crisis Prevention is the only organization in this region providing direct crisis intervention services and prevention education for individuals experiencing domestic violence, stalking, sexual assault, human trafficking. Our services, are able to support people who never expect to find themselves in those kinds of situations, and they do not know where to turn. And so being able to provide, that peer support, medical and legal advocacy, safety planning, as well as connection to other resources throughout, this beautiful region and city, makes an enormous difference in their ability to heal and move forward from those kinds of experiences. Additionally, we provide prevention education in schools across this county in the efforts to equip our young people with understandings of how to be in healthy relationships and what it means to do that, to be in a community of care where people are respected and their needs are taken into account. And so our services are critical and essential. We are partnering all the time with other agencies and city departments, law enforcement as one example, to provide the kinds of things that those agencies are not equipped to do, mostly thinking about law enforcement and the emotional support of people experiencing that kind of trauma. Yes, and while, the city, that's While the city funding is just about 1% of our budget, it is a very important resource and helps to demonstrate the commitment and investment of the city into this very important aspect of the ecosystem for our residents. Yes, in fostering those healthy relationships and communities of care, as well as, yes, supporting survivors to be able to move forward and rebuild their lives. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Questions here? Thanks very much.
Thank you.
MFS Street Outreach.
So before we get started on this, I just want to clarify, in the book, it says street outreach, because if you remember a couple years ago, we participated with MFS in a street outreach position. They had lost some state funding at the time, and so we temporarily assisted with that. That was $35,000. That was for 2 years. The application that came forward from MFS this year was not for street outreach, it's for 2 new programs, and the amount they requested was $25,000.
Thank you. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Chairman. We have 10 people here from MFS, all who want to speak. Sir, how would you best like me to proceed?
Well, you give the overview of what
Okay.
the organization is, and we really don't need to hear it 10 times.
You got it. I will make
But,
sure I'm
you
very
know,
selective and
you
who has some things to say. Would that work, Mr. Chairman? Thank you, sir. My name is Mindy Asbury. I'm the Chief Medical Officer and the Interim Chief Executive Officer at Monadnock Family Services. Thank you again for providing us with the opportunity to come here today. In reviewing the application and the request from the city did note that they are looking for programs that are not duplicitous to other programs, that are preventative in nature. They factor in how much % of the population of the total program does the organization serve that are Keene clients. It must be a unique service, and it must be cost-effective. And we check all of those boxes. So as Ms. Ferland said, we did previously have a homeless outreach program that we were operating, and last year the city was very kind and clear that they now are doing that initiative, and that if it was no longer needed by us unless we were to do street therapy. As you can imagine, we have a very challenging time filling any position at MFS, let alone a therapy position. And unfortunately, we could not get someone to do street therapy. So we decided to apply for funding to support programs that are cost-effective, preventative, are not duplicitous, a unique service, and that serve Keene clients. MFS serves 51% of the clients that we serve are from Keene. This is at MFS. And this year, we reduced our ask from $35,000 to $25,000 because in my conversations I've been involved in with the city, it was clear to me, at least what I thought I heard, was that funding was going to be even more tight than usual. So to be a good team member and good city member, we actually reduced our funding even though we remain highly service providing to Keene. For example, we provide Keene residents 33,100 service activities per month, which is 37,000 services per year. At the $9,800 that has been slated for us, that's less than 25 cents per service, and our services range between $125 to $430 per service. Last year, our write-offs for Keene residents, so in other words, the amount of money that was billed that we were unable to collect was $144,000 per year from the city of Keene alone. And so $9,800 is less than 7 cents per dollar that we spend on uncompensated care for Keene residents. So we are subsidizing the residents of Keene. If we look at the amount of money that it cost us to serve Keene, if we look at all services, not just those unbilled, it was more than $2 million that MFS provided to the city of Keene without getting any kind of reimbursement. Let's compare that to other cities. So MFS serves, where's my number? In Jaffrey, 83 clients, and Jaffrey gives us around $7,000. Jaffrey gives us $84 per person. Swansea gives us $51 per person. Peterborough gives us $84 per person. If we do the math and take that average of those three, that's $73 per person. So if the city of Keene was going to keep pace with our neighbors, the city of Keene should, if you will, give us $62,999, not $9,800. And speaking of cost effectiveness, the programs that we have created this year are both very cost effective programs. The healthy cooking and safe cooking class, for every $1 that is spent, research shows that it yields an average of $3.67 to $8.34 in savings in future healthcare costs, such as those that would be inferred by the city. That's an average of $6. We asked for $12,000. So that would be a return of investment of $72,000 worth of goods provided for $12,000. For assertive community treatment, which was the other program we asked for, assertive community treatment reduces hospitalizations by 7 to 10 days per patient per year. Okay, so each patient, we serve about 30 on that team. It reduces emergency department visits, it reduces homelessness, it reduces days spent unemployed, and it reduces justice involvement. So both of these programs do all of those things. So I'm a little at loss as to why MFS was slated to receive a mere $9,800 when we provide the city of Keene over $2 million worth of services that are unpaid. I'm happy to have our gentleman, Chris Taggart, who can speak to one of the particular programs in here that we wrote for. But I want to say, respected council members, that if there's something about this particular program you do not like, we're happy to change that, or we're happy to put the $25,000 towards uncompensated care, because we would still be, $3,975,000 in the, down on that. So, and I have a couple of more staff members, if you will, that would like to read a statement from one of the patients with whom we think would benefit from this type of service. Would you allow that?
Sure, we can hear from a couple more folks. Let me just remind everybody that this evening we make no decisions.
Yes, sir.
We're taking it all in.
You got
and
it.
we'll assimilate and go through it.
I appreciate that.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
So I want to clarify something. The application that was submitted was for the Cooking and Healthy Eating Program and the ACT program.
Yes.
And that's what the decision was based on, not the other services that MFS provides. But on page 87 in your book, there's $25,000 that is for MFS for health, what is it, listed as mental health services. That money was not used by MFS last year. It's in the budget again this year. So there are actually two lines for this organization in the budget, one of which is on page 87.
Okay.
Sure. Okay. Chris, do you want to come up?
Good evening. I'm Chris Taggart. I am the Community Program Development Manager for MFS. I also do grant writing for them as well.
Can you turn on your microphone, please?
Hi, I'm Chris Taggart. I'm with MFS. I'm the Community Program Development Manager, and I am very thankful to get the opportunity to describe this healthy cooking course that we put together. To fund a healthy cooking and nutrition education course facilitated by MFS staff is a proactive investment in community health and targeting both physical wellness and economic stability. We call this new initiative the Monadnock Family Services Cooking and Healthy Eating Program. The program would serve, and this is pretty cool because I've been hearing other services and food insecurity is a definite issue. And if you can think of what we're doing as a different entry point into that, we would work with middle school students, high schoolers, adults, and older adults living at or near the poverty line, teaching them healthy nutrition as our fellow community members who are living in low-income households will improve their food security and reduce chronic diseases such as diabetes, hypertension, and heart disease and certain cancers. Additionally, this project would empower individuals with budgeting skills, which is something that's incredibly important with today's prices, newly learned cooking skills, and saving clients much needed money both in the short and long term. And that's one of our major goals with this. This educational experience will foster community well-being by addressing the cycle of nutrient-poor diets, often linked to limited resources, and psychological stress and unhealthy food environments. We see this happening with guest chefs joining as well from local restaurants. And we hope to have this happen in 8-week sessions throughout the year. And we're also hoping it can be a long-term initiative to get the financial payback, return on investment as described. And we're confident that we could do that for the city of Keene.
Thank you.
Mr.
Questions
Chairman,
here?
can we have someone speak from a
Did you-
patient's perspective?
Do you have a
I
question?
can pass it. We've got a busy evening. I'll ask. Can you
Okay.
Sue do that?
Sue, yeah, do you have the? Thank you, committee.
I'm reading cold. Good evening, my name is Susan Pitts. I am a case manager from Monadnock Family Services that I just celebrated 20 years with. So I have had the good fortune to work with the Healthy Cooking program prior to the pandemic, and it actually stopped at that point because of the obvious reasons. It brings back a lot of good connections for our kids, and I have been worked with all the ages, emerging adults, teenagers, middle schoolers, and the youngsters. So this is a statement for the city of Keene, and it's from one of our adults?
No,
One of our kid patients. Hi, my name is Andre, and I am a teen and client of MFS. I think that the culinary group would be very beneficial for the MFS community. The benefits of this group could improve skills to meet future goals, and it can help find a reason to live out for your future, which is a big part of mental health. Many people need culinary skills so they can support their families at home. Finding new recipes can be useful when you are focusing on your wellness. Things like nutrition and diet are essential when focusing on mental health. When teens are at home, they might be wondering what to eat but not know how to make it. When teens don't have other resources like electronics or not allowed for recipes, it is important to learn these skills. I personally am always wondering what I should eat. Occasionally, I don't eat at all or eat the same foods. Exploring new meals can be important to our wellness, and you might actually find new foods that you can enjoy. Cooking is a skill for everyone, and people should be able to explore interests through this establishment that they can trust. Some people might say that learning how to cook is not important, but it's very necessary for your future. A cooking group can inspire kids who have the confidence they need to join a culinary competitions. Many people also have hidden skills that they may not know. It is important to find those skills. So you know you are important too. A cooking group would mean a lot to me by letting me know that my future is going to come, and I need to be prepared for it. It also means having a chance to really explore my passion for wellness. Nutrition is a big part of psychology, which I am very interested in. And if I want to be a psychologist in the future, which I do, I will need to know which foods impact cognitive skills. This group needs to happen. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Questions? Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, sir.
And Arts Alive.
Hello, Mr. Chairman. My name is Jay House. I'm the Executive Director of Arts Alive. Thank you for the opportunity to talk to you today. Arts Alive submitted a request for $10,000 in operating support, which was the amount that we were granted last year during the shift that was happening at the state level with the dissolution of the State Arts Council. And we decided to request the same amount this year. My background is as a fundraiser, and
Can you turn on your microphone, please?
Thank you. Yes. Should I repeat all that? All right. My name is Jay House. I'm the Executive Director of Arts Alive. Thank you for having me today. I am, so we requested $10,000 in general operating support, and we're allocated at $1,000. We're very grateful for the support that we received last year. It helped with the transition of the loss of federal funding. It also helped with the transition of our outgoing executive director, Jessica Gelter, who departed in July and took with her the 11 years of institutional knowledge that, that she had accumulated. And we are very grateful to be where we are today, looking at how we can best serve the very, very rich community of arts and culture and creativity in Keene and the surrounding region. I will say that part of my role I started as interim in September and became not interim in January. And in my role, I've been able to talk with a lot of different folks in the region, and am blown away by the depth of love for arts and culture and creativity, the way that it's woven in. If you look at the industry that's happened here in Keene, if you look at the festivals, the murals on the walls of Keene, there's an incredible richness here, and people love it. And I know this because they've been really, really kind to me and really welcoming me and encouraging and happy that Arts Alive is going to continue. And so having the support of the city is very, very meaningful at this time, because it signals to the community at large and to other potential funders that we are important and that we matter, and that the residents of Keene value us enough to have some of their tax dollars go to us. So I don't dismiss the importance of that, and I recognize sometimes it's hard to prove the value of the arts, especially listening to these incredible programs. My mother received Meals on Wheels. I've worked in creative aging and arts education, so I know how important these interventions are, whether they're art-related or not. And frankly, I took notes. There are a bunch of organizations that I'm going to reach out to see if we can support their work by knitting arts programming in. But I would like to ask you if there's any way that you can increase the allocation, any amount of increase would be wonderful. One of the things that we're doing right now is actively fundraising and looking for ways that we can bring new dollars into the community. I recognize that we have some very, very generous funders in the community, and we have to have more of those very, very generous funders, because if they decide that they can't or don't want to fund the same things, then the field that's relying on them is vulnerable. And by investing right now in the work of Arts Alive, it allows us to build up our fundraising and outreach programs over the next year. I see us in about a three-year trajectory to ramp up. Right now we have 1.125 full-time equivalents. I'm a part-time, I'm 15 hours a week. My colleague Hallie Driscoll is a Keene resident. I'm a Swansea resident. Hallie works 30 hours a week. She is a single mom, supports a child. So I'm very proud to support her and indirectly take care of her family that way. She's an incredible asset to this community, and she's studying arts administration. She's just finished up at River Valley and will be at UMass in the fall. And to know that she gets to build a career in the arts that will allow her to also be an artist, raise her child, be in this community where she was born and raised. I think it's a testimony to the way that an organization like Arts Alive can be knitted into the community. Just yesterday, she had a meeting with a new member who is looking to volunteer. She is an arts educator, and so we are looking at ways that we could create some curriculum that we might then offer to community centers and schools, We have to figure out how to finance it, but I know there are grants out there further afield from the immediate community. And I do believe that if we have the opportunity to continue fundraising and building the infrastructure that we need to run high-quality programs, we will be able to partner with, I was imagining, what if we could have an art kit in Meals on Wheels? What if we could have an artist on that bus and do some kind of art lesson? I don't know how that would work logistically, but I would like to have those conversations. And in order to have those conversations, I'm asking that you will continue to support Arts Alive as generously as you possibly can. And I have a bunch of other stuff I wrote down. I could come up with more numbers, but I'm going to stop right here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Questions? Yes.
Yes, can you help us understand, the current amount is $1,000.
Yes,
Can you
ma'am.
help us understand what the percentage this is? What is $1,000 to your operating budget?
Our current projected budget is about $144,000 for Arts Alive's operations.
Okay, so from 1% to 10% is
Correct.
what you're asking in terms. Okay, great, thank you. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
that.
Other questions here? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we're turning the page, correct? All right. And we're going to community-funded events. We have a lot of other folks here that would like to speak with us. Independence Day, Independence Eve. Oh, wait for it. They don't like us. To speak.
Just wanted to clarify, there may be a slight discrepancy with some pagination. The one copy of the book we had sent out, we were waiting for the final copies to come back from our printer, and there were some blank pages that were removed from the copy that we received from the printer. So you may, when we make mention of pages to reference, you may be off by 1 or 2 page numbers.
Okay. Independence Eve. No one? 4 on the 4th. No. Clarence DeMar. I know he's here.
Good evening. My name is Alan Stroshine. I'm the race director for the Clarence DeMar Marathon and a very proud member of the Keene Elm City Rotary, for which this event provides all its funding for. We've been coming in front of you, I've been coming in front of this group since 2012, and it seems like, I don't want to sound like a broken record or just make this sound kind of rinse and repeat, but I can tell you in the time that I have been working with the city manager and many departments underneath her, I can't express how grateful I am for the relationship we have with the city. We kicked off some of that today with our first protocol meeting with about a dozen people, staff members around the table, working on the many layers of details that this event requires. But I want to stress that, again, while this is a great event and it brings a lot of people to our community, hopefully with their pocketbooks and leaving a lot of their hard-earned cash here, we're probably only a third into what we have for registrations, but we already have 35 states represented, and we have the countries of Canada and the UK represented. So there is a very diverse group of people that come to our little slice of heaven here in southwest New Hampshire to experience the city and our community. And again, the city does a great job at making sure we put our best foot forward for that particular showcase. As for what the money we raise from this event goes to, again, it 100% funds the Keene Elm City Rotary's services budget and programs budget. And I will be at Simon's Elementary School tomorrow morning at 8:30, pulling a trailer full of brand new New Balance sneakers, fitting every second grader in that school with a brand new pair of shoes, encouraging them to become active and move every day and live a healthy lifestyle. Since we've been doing our sneaker program, we've delivered almost 8,000 pair of brand new shoes to 27 different schools across Keene and Cheshire County. That's just one of the things that the proceeds from this event go to, and your generous support have certainly helped us do that. So I'm grateful for that. I do not take that for granted, and would be happy to entertain any questions, and hope to see you, everybody, on Sunday, September 27th. And again, it's not just a marathon, it's a half marathon. It's our Kids Tomorrow program, and it's our Super Seniors program. Cam Tees mentioned earlier the collaboration with the Senior Center. We have multiple relationships with different groups and collaborations outside of our Rotary Club, which is another benefit we think we bring.
Thank you. Questions here?
Two quick questions. Number one, by chance, are you able to source those shoes locally?
I'm going to say yes and no. I mean, we have a member of our Rotary Club is Ted McGreer, who has some connections to some shoe manufacturers, and
That's fair. That's fair. I won't
as-
push you
as far-
further.
And so locally is that New Balance, who he has a great relationship with, has a seconds program. So we are not buying brand new off the shelves. We're buying some seconds that come in bulk
Excellent.
for about $12 a pair.
Through a local contact.
Yes.
Ted. Second, it's a doubling from last year's ask. 5,000 to 10,000, am I mistaken?
You know, we've been at 10,000 for a number of years.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I saw 5,000 the 2 dates before. Okay, my mistake, thank you very much.
Okay.
Other questions here? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good luck. Fire Prevention Parade, first Sunday in October, be there. Keene Music Festival. Kiwanis tree lighting.
Good evening. My name is Janet Jeanette, and I'm representing the Kiwanis Club of Keene and our tree lighting celebration on Central Square. My club wants to thank the mayor and the city council for supporting this community event, along with the tremendous help given by the fire department, the police department, and the public works staff. Tree lighting is a family event that focuses on the children. That's what Kiwanis is all about. We are grateful for the support we receive from local businesses and our major sponsors. Their generosity makes it possible for Kiwanis to decorate the bandstand and to light up the tree. The tree lighting celebration is a truly magical evening for the children and the young at heart. And it's a great way to kick off the holiday season. The decorated square and the lighted tree make our city an attractive and welcoming place to visit, dine out, and shop locally. And we just did an event where we gave out helmets to the children at the rec center because, again, we want to keep their little heads safe when they're riding around on their bicycles. And matter of fact, listening to some of the groups that came up, we support a lot of these groups with monies that we raise through our foundation. We give camperships and scholarships. So, any questions?
Questions here? Thank you very much.
Thank you for everything you guys do.
Ice and Snow Festival. Pumpkin Festival. I'm gonna check this guy.
So Giacomo gave me about 14 pages to read. He unfortunately had to leave. He has first soccer practice tonight, so a fun time for him. But I'll skim through the 2 pages he did give me.
Some people never grow up.
Yeah, I know. I'm going to skim through the notes he did give me, but this year will be the 6th year since the reboot of the Pumpkin Festival, which is exciting for us. Last year saw over $40,000 raised by 12 nonprofits through the food sales at the event. That's how the food goes through that. And an estimated $200,000 boost to the Keene businesses in downtown. So we like to think of the investment from the city as an investment in, it's an ROI from that event. It's actually funny, when you look at the Keene Downtown Group recently put out some numbers, and I don't know what service they got them from, I think they might have gotten them from the city, that showed hotel stays and visitors into Keene, and you can look along the lines, and it's pretty steady, and then mid-October, for the year they showed, just skyrocketed for the event. It was kind of funny to see the number of people that came in for that particular year. As the downtown project gets underway, things like this, like all the festivals and events we're talking about right now, are going to be that much more important. We are partnering with the Keene Downtown Group to coordinate other smaller events and throughout the year and helping them with that. We want to make sure we get through the what's coming up here for construction, because we know we need to do it, but we need to get through it. And then I will read this part. So thank you for all the city's support in the past to Keene Police, Fire, and especially Public Works for going above and beyond to help our event be a success each year. And we hope to continue giving back to our community for years to come. So, any questions?
Thank you. Questions? Thank you, sir.
I'm not moving. You get me the next one, too.
All right. Taste of Keene.
Hi, well, so, Taste of Keene. The funny part is we're not here talking about the one that's coming up on June 6th. June 6th, go to that event. That's hosted by the Keene Young Professionals Network, has been since the beginning when it was founded in 2021. The event is largely the same as it has been. We're just adjusting for construction as needed. So that's the plan for this year. We're actually here talking about June of 2027. So we are, the only thing that'll change, again, we're going to continue to adjust for construction. KYPN is actually breaking the event off, and it's going to operate under TOK Inc. as a separate 501c3, just to keep it clean and make it so it's a little easier to do other things. But other than that, it's still operating the same.
Thank you. Questions?
Cool.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Keene Pride Festival.
Adam Topher, who would have been speaking about this, had an emergency at his business. And so if there are questions, and if you'd like, I can always invite him back, but he is continuing the festival as he has in years past.
Okay. We good with that? Okay, fine. Thank you. 250th celebration. Counselor.
Hello, everyone. Molly Ellis. Somehow I ended up leading the 250th celebration, and which has been very exciting. It's going to be awesome, you guys. It's going to be so cool. I'm very grateful to the Keene Downtown Group and the Historical Society of Cheshire County, because they have been our fiscal sponsor and our 501c3 that we register under. They've helped us out so much, and it's going to be an awesome day, and I think it's very important for Keene to represent ourselves well for this very important and auspicious holiday. So we're going balls to the wall. Excuse me. Any questions?
Questions?
All
You
right,
have a
thank
weather,
you.
you have the weather forecast?
Oh,
Get that under control?
it's gonna be awesome.
Thank you. Dig into Keene. Is this the downtown project?
Yes. So if you recall, the downtown group came forward and had a number of small festivals that they wanted to put on. during the construction period for our downtown project, and they came up with this Dig Into Keene name. And at the time when this was brought forward, the council was supportive of including them at the maximum 10,000 to offset city services.
Questions on that? Good. All right. Still have a bunch of folks here. What have we missed? Have we missed any? So I'm going to take a little break here, I think, before we dive into the next group. Okay. We'll be back in here at 7. How's that? Thank you.
Who are all these people?
I know. Convene here. And we're on Human Services. Natalie?
Jacob says he can't hear you, so he can't hear you.
All right.
Older guys probably can.
I'm actually going to be speaking for Human Services this evening.
Okay. So we're back in session. We're on Human Services, which is in the Finance Department, and Finance Director is going to take the lead. Thank you.
So the only notable change or supplemental for Human Services is $50,000, which you'll see under the Finance Human Service General Assist on page, I have it on page 87. You may have it on 86, 88. Yes, so it is in the rentals line. That $50,000 is to fund the community warming shelter with the collaboration of the UCC.
Okay. Questions here?
Thank you.
All right. Unclassified, do we have anything under there that we need to do? No. Okay. So, capital appropriations? So to recognize how this appears in the budget, a month or two ago, we dealt with the capital budget, 6-year plan, and it was dealt with, the full thing was dealt with in this cycle this year. And with that, those that were approved for the upcoming year were then put into this budget for us to raise the money.
Yes, so capital is on page 51. Capital in your books is on page 51. There is a 2-page difference on the online version. I did need to make some adjustments to the first year of the capital plan in order to meet the fiscal policies. So I would just briefly talk about the adjustments that I made and bring them to your attention. In the capital reserve appropriation at the top of the page, I reduced the ambulance replacement capital reserve from 300 to 150. We did check our replacement schedule. It will not change the replacement schedule. In apparatus fire replacement capital reserve, I changed from 375 to 200. When I did that, I changed the out years. If you look in the out years, that number is 400. I think before it was 400, but maybe a year or two later in the plan. So that we could also, we actually also, that would mean bumping the one fire truck out by a year. In addition, the road and sidewalk infrastructure capital reserve, we brought that number to 0. There was 300,000 in that line, and we made the change later in the plan for the 500,000 to roadway construction that the council talked about the night the CIP was adopted. So in the end, we cut 740, but we put 500 back in roadway preservation, which is on the next page in your book, page 52. So the net difference of the capital plan is $245,000.
Questions? All right. Risk management?
So for risk management, it's really talking about our liability insurance. There was a pretty significant increase, which I think is pretty standard. That is in finance. It is, oops, of course I just had it, bear with me, that is, I have it on page 87. Finance, it says property and liability insurance. The rest of finance is on Thursday night, I believe.
Good evening, Terry Hood, City Clerk. We actually have 4 different budgets that we manage. I'm going to talk about 2 of them. One is our operating budget. The other is elections, and I have Deputy City Clerk Bill Dow with me, who will be talking about records and archives. So just want to start that this year, our main focus is on running successful elections this fall. We have our 2026 midterms, and we anticipate those to be quite busy, and we have a lot of new regulations to train on and so forth, so I think we're going to be quite busy with that. We also have, we will be moving out of our space after the election season is over to allow for the stabilization of the back wall of City Hall, and while that's happening, there will be some work internally because we have some things in the ceiling that need to be dealt with, the flooring, and we are hoping that some level of renovation will occur at that time to make our front office area a little more conducive to the public's comfort. We're also anticipating some retirements coming up, and we are planning for succession in that arena. So we have a lot going on this year. In terms of our budget, we have asked for some minor increases in our operating budget. Advertising costs have gone up, and we've asked to increase our advertising budget by $200. We've also asked for some additional funds in our training budget to allow our newest deputy city clerk to do some training and certification that is required of that position. Finally, we also I would like to resume my online subscription for the Sentinel, which I didn't think I would use, but I find that I need it. So I'm asking to put that money back in this year so that I have access to the Sentinel. In our elections budget, this year that's really going to be one of our primary focuses, other than being disrupted for several months when we move out, which will take up a good portion of our time this year too. But we do anticipate that the fall elections are going to be well attended, and we're gearing up for that. One new thing that was added to our plates this year is we need to send out notification to any voters who have not voted in the last 5 years if they didn't register on or after the November election in 2024. So I guess it would be after. But so those folks are going to get notice. We have asked for additional funds in the budget to do that. It's a new statutory requirement that we'll have to do every year. We anticipate that the amount of notices year by year is going to go down. So this year we've asked for the highest amount, and we're assuming it's going to be less as time goes on. The other thing we have asked for this year is an increase in our food budget for polling, for Election Day for poll workers. We really find that providing lunch and dinner isn't enough. We want to be able to provide the people that work a full day a meal to cover them for the entire day. And then finally, we did ask for a small increase in our supplies budget for Election Day. Almost not enough to mention, a little over $100. But, and so at this point, I think I'd like to turn it over to Bill Dow, and he'll talk about his department.
Thank you, Terry. Mr. Chair, councilors. We've been focusing on the records facility, its condition as well as its maintenance issues. Facility's 25 years old, and we were able to complete a flooring project in the archive room. We put in a subfloor with a rubber flooring over it, which helps with maintenance, daily maintenance. We're in and out of there a lot with equipment, dragging in all sorts of things from when we're out in the field, and so we're pretty happy about that. We came $500 under budget for that project, so we're pretty happy about that. We've also been doing a assessment of our permanent collection and space needs. we've determined that we're about 72% full in the facility. 60% of it is our records. The other 12% is clients. Of that 60%, it includes our retention collection, so we're constantly sort of cycling things in and out in that scheduled retention group. So about 40% of the collection is permanent. So that's where we're at. We can hold about 10,000 boxes approximately in the facility total. So we're about 40% of permanent records full. That other 20%, some of that is earmarked as, what's the term, indefinite, I guess. So even though the state doesn't require us to keep it, there's been administrative decisions about it should be around because that Department of Origin feels that it's important enough to keep around for longer. But we do have things earmarked for review, and we're pretty active. We actually were able to purge about 410 boxes this year. So, which leads me into our next supplemental budget increase request, which was our shredding budget has increased. The volumes, we were a little bit behind because of the pandemic. Couldn't really work with outside vendors in a safe way to sort of purge things on a regular basis. But we've got back into that cycle, and unfortunately, the cost to do this service is gotten more expensive. Gas is up big, and other expenses tied to the shredding costs are there. So we're asking for a slight increase there in our budget. In our archive budget, we have an increase in the supplies for that. For our records preservation, we've traditionally tried to repair the volumes of records that are in the clerk's vault that are historic to the council actions as well as other town records. We've kind of stepped away from that a little bit, trying to shift our budget focuses on other things and trying to make these books last a little longer. But we've come to the point where we need to start repairing some books. We actually were doing some research for the Historical Society for the upcoming 250th celebration and realized that our selectmen minutes from 1776 are in need of some work. So that's the type of thing that we don't really, we may not have looked at that for the last 100 years, but now it becomes an active record, and it's actually down at the Historical Society, so it's getting transported and things like that. So that's where we are with records, and I'm happy to entertain any questions that anybody may have.
Questions here? Sure.
I have questions for both of you. I'm going to start with Terry. When you talked about moving, where are you guys going to temporarily be stationed, and what is your plan in terms of the public being able to still easily access you?
So that's a good question, and I think it's still a bit up in the air. There's been some conversations about keeping us close to City Hall. We'd like to be close to City Hall. This is the hub of where we do everything that we do. So ideally, we'll be close by, and if we can't be close by, we will definitely be leveraging our communications department to make sure that the customer base that relies on us knows where to find us. We would certainly be in a city facility somewhere if we had to relocate away from downtown. I couldn't say right now exactly where it's going to be. There's some temporary conversations going on about an adjacent storefront that's vacant right now, but we just don't know what's going to be going on in there by the time that project comes around. So.
And how long do you anticipate having to be in a different location?
I'm hearing 3 to 4 months. Wow. And so we've asked for that to happen after election season is over. So.
And then the other question I have is, the amount is not much at all, but under supplies it says uniforms. What is that in reference to?
Yeah, we have a small $250 uniform budget for the records clerk. We are in contracted customers' facilities with their records, excuse me. And so we like to have identification with us, so that, you know, someone walking out of their facility with their records is a little bit more prominent. And as if, for instance, a piece of something gets torn, we will replace someone's personal equipment. I mean, personal equipment if that's the case, but typically we.
And then under, when you were talking about permanent collection, you said that you're at 72% capacity and that 60% was the city and the remainder was clients. How do you determine what to charge those clients? Are they other cities? Are they individuals? You know, like what kind of, is it like a monthly charge?
It
a
is.
yearly charge?
So it's based on the volume of how many records they're storing with us. If there's a minimum threshold, if they don't reach that minimum, they get a flat fee charge, monthly charge for storage. If they go over that threshold, it's a per box charge, and so that's sort of how we balance clients, large and small clients. They also pay a per action fee. So if you request a record to be pulled off a box to be pulled off the shelf, you pay a fee for that. You pay a fee for it to be checked out to you. If you want it delivered, you pay a fee for that. So it depends on what you request, but most clients will retrieve things and then come and pick them up themselves, so they save that transportation cost.
And so one of my other questions was, those clients, are they other municipalities or are they individuals? Are they?
So we're
law
limited
offices?
to, state law limits us to store records with only nonprofits and other governmental agencies. So we have a combination of 9 of those.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Those funds that you receive for that service helps to defer our costs of this, correct?
Correct. It helps pay for the part-time person who's over there, 20 hours a week.
Terrific. Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
City manager. Says page
Thank you.
55.
Yeah. So 55 is the words, the description of what's included in my budget, and then the numbers start on page 58 in your book. The city manager's budget includes several sections. So there's my office, and then there's the emergency management director, and then there's the deputy city managers included in this budget as well. The first section of the budget is actually going down. I have only a couple of small supplementals. In the operating portion of the budget, I'm asking for a supplemental of $1,300 under meetings and dues, and that's because the New Hampshire Municipal Association membership has gone up by $1,300. Then further down on the page, you'll see that there is a reduction in the cost for emergency management. That's being reduced by just over $40,000, and the reason for that is the individual performing this function is currently under contract. That contract is going to end at the end of June, and I will be bringing forth in the next meeting or two a recommendation to appoint someone as a regular full-time employee as additional duties as emergency management director. So there's a pretty good savings there. And then further on the next page, you'll see under city manager, deputy city manager of facilities, which is Andy Bohannon's division. He's asking for a supplemental of $2,000, and that is to attend Leadership New Hampshire. He's got part of the funds in there, but he is applying to be part of the Leadership New Hampshire program this year, which is a great program, and I support his efforts in doing so. That's really it for the changes.
Questions here? All right. Airport. Page 146.
Good evening, Chair, council members. Ryan Cooley, Airport Director, Keene, Dillon, Hopkins Airport. So this is my first budget hearing with the city, so I appreciate the opportunity to walk through the airport budget with you tonight. I promise to keep it on the straight and narrow, avoid as much turbulence as possible. Just please stay seated during this presentation. Our airport continues to be a very active general aviation airport and an important asset to the city of Keene and the Monadnock region. We continue to maintain right around 50 based aircraft at the airport, and for this upcoming fiscal year, we are using a conservative estimate of about 20,000 annual operations. An operation is a takeoff, a landing, or an approach, so that remains a strong level of activity for an airport of our size. A good example of that activity is Monadnock Aviation, our FBO. In 2025, they reported fueling over 400 jet aircraft and over 1,000 smaller piston aircraft. Those aircraft supported business travel, leisure travel, cargo, military, and law enforcement activity. About 1/3 of transient arrivals stay overnight, which means that those visitors were using local hotels, restaurants, taxis, rental cars, and other businesses. Monadnock Aviation also provides 24-hour fueling and ramp services, aircraft maintenance, and flight training. Their flight school trains students from no experience through flight instructor, and they employ 15 aviation professionals at the airport themselves. The airport also supports activity beyond aviation staff. The restaurant remains very active. In 2025, the restaurant reported 57,298 guests and 23,003 meals. Yeah, that's a busy restaurant. You know, it might not be an FAA metric, but it sure is a community metric, that's for sure. So when we talk about the airport, we're not just talking about runways and hangars. We're talking about transportation infrastructure, economic activity, public safety, emergency response, business travel, tourism, and community use. On to the budget. The airport has again worked to present a budget that minimizes reliance on local tax support while still maintaining a safe, functional, and compliant facility. On the revenue side, our operating budget shows total airport revenues of about $592,200, which is up 3% from last year's budget. Those revenues come from existing airport resources such as land rent, terminal rent, T-hangar rent, fuel farm rent, aviation fueling fees, landing fees, and gross revenue charges. And much of the increase is driven by existing lease terms and contract escalators. The airport reviewed the operating accounts closely, and the supplemental requests are focused on items that are required, safety-related, tied to aging infrastructure, or necessary to complete work that has already been started but has not been finished. On the expenditure side, there is an overall increase, but the budget remains focused on core airport operations: personnel, fleet charges, utilities, taxes, maintenance, regulatory compliance, and airfield safety. The proposed supplemental items total $51,408 for this fiscal year. The largest item is this required stormwater pollution prevention plan update, which is necessary for regulatory compliance. This stormwater pollution prevention plan update is $34,601. The remaining supplemental items are targeted operational needs, including fuel farm maintenance, T-hangar door repairs, airport signage, and airfield lighting and navigational aids. So overall, the requested increases are not broad discretionary increases. They are focused on compliance, aging infrastructure, airport presentation, and keeping the airfield safe, functional, and reliable. Overall, this budget reflects a practical approach. It supports a busy general aviation airport, preserves city infrastructure, meets regulatory obligations, and helps maintain the airport as an economic and public safety asset for the region. That's my overview, and I'm happy to go over any budget items or questions you might have regarding the supplemental increases.
Questions? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Chair. We have increased fuel costs coming our way already and potentially into the future. I know you're very new to the position, but have you had a chance to think creatively about potential decreases in activity at our airport due to these increased fuel costs?
So the potential how we might see a reduction in activity at the airport because of that?
I'm anticipating that we will see decrease. Have you had a chance to think any about how we might creatively keep our numbers square if, in the event of decreased use?
That would be a question better suited for the FBO because they're the ones who actually manage their fuel prices. In terms of activity at the airport, if we were to see a drastic decline in activity, there are a couple ways that that issue could be tackled. One, we could take a look at adjusting the fuel flowage fees. For example, we could take a look at the landing fees. You know, if drastic measures need to take place to try to encourage that traffic to continue. But if there's one thing that I can that I can notate in my tenure as a airport executive, is that air travel still continues, even amongst the GA pilots, even in times of economic distress. In 2008, for example, while the commercial pilot, commercial aircraft and commercial aviation was hit pretty hard by the fuel prices and the increase in the fuel costs, while there was a slight impact to the GA traffic, it wasn't enough to deter the locals and the regulars that are based out of your airport, out of any local airport, because they still need to continue to travel and fly and do whatever it is they're doing. They might have a little bit less frequency, but a lot of these businesses, for example, like CNS, have contracts where they hedge fuel or they have fuel, set aside for a certain price. So a lot of these larger operators that fly in and out, like the business operators, the charters, already have built-in safety nets because of 2008. So while we could see a reduction, I don't think we're going to see something very drastic.
Can I follow? So am I understanding that this is because this is a private use? These are not commercial airlines, it's private plane
Correct.
use. When you say GA, what is that?
General aviation.
General aviation.
Yeah.
Okay. So is that correct? It's because
Yeah.
these are private and they have more cush. They can.
They might still, leisure, fly leisurely for them, or
Okay.
it's their mode of transport, from one town to another. Yeah.
Terrific. Thank you very much.
Seems fitting that the first member of the public to ask a question is a city councilor, right? Laura Ruddle Miller, city councilor, West Street. I apologize if you referenced this, but could you clarify a little bit what professional services includes?
So this year, the professional services is the creation of the stormwater pollution prevention plan.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions? Thank you, sir. Community development. Then you brought some friends, I hear.
It's about time. Mr. Chair, Paul Anders, Community Development. I'm no longer the brand-new guy that the last Ryan did a great job as the new guy. So I'm here to talk about the Community Development Department, and I think just the overall theme here is that we're now in what we like to think of as our team into implementation phase. I had a bunch of notes that I wrote down. I think I'm only going to read a couple and then get to the supplemental requests that we have. I just want to emphasize that while much of our work is regulatory in nature, our approach is centered on customer service, technical assistance, and predictability in our processes. We strive to help residents, businesses, and contractors successfully navigate processes while still upholding the city's responsibility to protect public health, safety, and welfare. This past year, that we've, council did fund, and we are now kind of up to our ears in implementing the OpenGov permitting and plan review software. It has been a little bumpy. It's been just a process and change, but it's now getting to a point where we're starting to really get some positive feedback. We're looking at how to look at our processes, as we put this thing together, how we can look internally and make our building permitting and food licensing and planning reviews be a little bit more streamlined. So it's been a very useful process. We thought it would be. And then, just the other piece that I wanted to bring up was this notion of public outreach and what this department does. CDD staff attended 164 public meetings during the year. We have a whiteboard that we do on a weekly basis, which averages roughly to 19 meetings per month, and there's 20 work days in a month, including planning board, ZBA, city council committees, neighborhood meetings, commissions, and advisory committees. Now, this changes from year to year, but because, of course, last year we had the master plan, which, yay, we finished, first one in 16 years. But I think with me coming into this role and with this team, this existing team, and just being really impressed with their dedication to the amount of time that they spend, this doesn't include, these numbers don't include the Saturdays, some of the Earth Day things, some of the other weekend activities that they are present for as well. So I just think that that's a really important top of mind thing to know about this team. Looking ahead, as I said, we are in implementation mode. So we have this brand new master plan. We have all of these really impressive, progressive plans that this community has developed over the last few years. And our department, the staff, are already well aware of the position that they're in to help be a partner to developing new resources or combining resources to help address and achieve the goals that are outlined in all of these plans. And so with that, I don't think I'm forgetting anything, but I can answer any questions with respect to numbers, amounts of permits that we reviewed, those sorts of things over the year. But our request is we have an existing planning tech position that we've had for about 2 years now. And through all of the discussions that we've had with the community on, particularly around the arena of climate change and sustainability, and how folks have really tried to look at this and see how we could get resources behind it, particularly somebody or some organization to help steward some of the initiatives along. We came up with this essentially a compromise solution, and that is to take our planning tech part-time, about 30 hours a week, and convert it to a full-time, calling an assistant planner position. It is still what we would term entry level, but it is a full-time professional planning position that would work not only on some of the things that we still need in the office, such as current planning and working with committees and doing all of that day-to-day work, but also to work on the initiatives as outlined in the master plan and the climate plan and all of these associated policy documents that have been put together. And so that's what we've been proposing. Our conversation with the community has been, we can propose this to City Council, but with that, we would ask a contribution, matching funds essentially, to come along with that to make that position a reality. And that's been the commitment. The commitment to something like that came from the community first, and to the tune of about $35,000 a year, and that was the number that we had talked about. Again, we're just trying to bring together the best of both worlds. The impact to the budget for the city in order to bring the position up from a 12 to a grade 14 is about $17K, and that's in your budget book. And then we will be working with the partners that have already expressed an interest in partnering with the city on this position to secure the additional funds. And with that, I'll take questions.
You wanna?
Yeah, I can just add a little bit more. So It's not a straight calculation. You see a lot of negative numbers in your book on page 161, and that's because there's a lot of things going on. I did include the change from the planner tech to the full-time position, and there is a regrade that's included in that number. It is just over 17,000. And then I also included the donation that is being put forth to fund the difference in the planner tech becoming part-time to full-time, and that donation right now is being pledged for 3 years. And so the net difference, so the net difference in the first 3 years, and then hopefully after 3 years, this position has proven their worth through other ways, savings and things that we are able to do now that we have those additional hours. So that's one piece of it that's in those wage numbers. The rest of the wage numbers, which is primarily being impacted by a couple of things, the fire marshal change. So the fire marshal is moving from a contract position to someone on the salary scale. And by doing that, there was a position that in the community development department that you'll remember John Rogers held, that position I'm taking out. So I'm netting out. It had been in the budget, and we had been doing different things while we were in this transition. And the fire marshal was partially charged to community development during this period of time. But now I'm cleaning all that up. So I'm bringing the fire marshal on to the salary schedule once he ends his contract in April, and I'm allocating a portion of his wages to community development because he will continue his oversight of inspectors in that department. I'm allocating the rest of his salary to the fire department, and you'll see when we get to review the fire department that I'm also doing that by offsetting a vacant deputy position. So I'd held a deputy position vacant while I had the fire marshal also. So I kept those two positions, one in community development and one in the fire department, vacant to be able to fund the contract for the fire marshal. And now I am taking this situation and making it permanent and cleaning up those wage lines. And so that's why those numbers are going to not look like anything what Paul is talking about, because it's really a net of all of those things happening. And in addition to that, I'm also planning to bring forward Rick Wood as the emergency management director effective July 1st. So all of those things have been taken into consideration. It's a substantial savings overall between the savings in the emergency management and also the savings in the community development department. And then there is some additional expense in the fire department, but overall it remains a savings.
So do I understand Rick Wood to be assuming 3 responsibilities?
So right now, he already is the building official and he is the fire marshal. So he already has those responsibilities. The only additional responsibility he assumes, assuming you approve his appointment as the emergency management director, is those emergency management director duties. Now, those duties had been performed in the past by Court Blomquist, who was the Public Works Director, and he assumed those additional duties. And in the budget, there's a $4,000 stipend, which, in my opinion, is not a lot for the work that is done by the Emergency Management Director, but I didn't change any of that. So that $4,000 stipend is included in the salary for Rick Wood, assuming his role.
Can I just follow? And this is a person who has really proved himself over this recent period that we feel very confident about from what I've heard.
Yes.
Can you?
Yes, absolutely. So Rick has done a great job. I think about this situation before Rick came on board and some of the challenges that we faced in terms of making tough decisions on problem properties. And where did it fall? Did it fall within the fire department or did it fall within community development? And how well did we work together to solve some of these issues? And by having Rick in the position, he has bridged that gap. And he's been able to bring the team together and then strategically decide, Is it a building official issue that we're going to pursue, or is it a fire issue that we're going to pursue? And, you know, with Paul, he and Paul have worked really, really well together. I wasn't sure with Paul coming in, and I was explaining this relationship, which was somewhat unique, because normally you don't have a fire marshal who has also the credentials of a building official. Those two things are very separate, but we do in Rick. He has that experience and those credentials. And so as part of this budget, I am putting him officially onto the salary scale with those duties.
Okay. One other comment. I would just like to say thank you to the planning department, to the climate committee, for after how many years of pulling these pieces together to be able to have hours focused on the substantial work that the committee has done and be able to look at bringing those actions into reality within the structure of the city. I really appreciate that. I know this was being talked about 7 years ago when I was part of the department. So kudos for pulling these pieces together.
Well, we were actually going to come here and beg you to pull this together. So we are very happy that you acknowledged that, and just wanted to say that we were coming to strongly, that there are several committee members here, and we felt strongly about this position. We have an ambitious master and sustainability plan, and I think that in order for us to achieve the goals that are set in that plan, we need to have this assistant planner. And so we strongly are recommending the creation of this position and support it totally.
Can
Thank
you,
you.
just for the record, your name and
Oh,
address?
sorry, Maureen Neppenzall, and I'm the vice chair of the ECC.
Thank you. Thank you. You have a question?
I do. So I noticed there's almost 500,000 that we take in for licenses and permits. And I was just curious, like, how is that determined? Are we able to increase those fees, or is it like a state legislation? I mean, I don't know how that works.
If I may, usually it's very kind of, when they're updated, it's usually at a time when a municipality kind of looks and realizes that number one, the fees that they're charging are outdated and they don't match the rest of the market around them, so to speak. And so it's calibrated in that sort of way, and it's done periodically, not super often, but that's something that we would look at from time to time. Elizabeth the city manager has some comments on it, but from my experience in other places, it's something that we haven't done a lot of until we realize at certain time that certain things have to be increased just due to the amount of time and resources that are being put into them. On the planning side, we just recently updated our fees for some specific permits because they were inordinately out of date, and there was a lot of work being done for very large projects that were not, they didn't match the amount of level of effort that needed, and so we did have some of those updated.
Good.
I just want to add, Paula's right. It's a combination. So the state tells us in some categories exactly how much you can charge, and you cannot go up any more than what they say. And then in many of these cases, it's recouping your expenses. And the problem is, towns and cities don't always go back and take a look at how much it costs them to process a permit. And then, like Paul was saying, what's the market tell us? We look at the other communities around us. Is it fair? Are we in line? And then we look internally to see how much it costs us to actually perform the function. So it's a combination. Sometimes the state tells us exactly, but we definitely cannot make a profit. That's very clear in state law. State law doesn't allow us to profit from the services that we provide.
And I would just add too, we don't want to be in a position to be creating additional financial burden on projects that we want to see happen. So, particularly from a permitting standpoint, we want to be fair with that, and we don't, we don't really have impact fees in the city, and I think that's a good thing. And I think we want to make sure that we're being reasonable in what we're charging for our fees for our permits.
Good.
So one other question, how often do we review and check with other municipalities to see if we're comparably in line with them?
That's a good question. I don't know if there's necessarily any specific time frame that we've done it. I'm not really aware of one in my experience that we would do that. It just seems, it's just something we do, when we come up for air every once in a while and look at what we're charging. This one in particular was, for the planning side, was we had a permit come in, and a project come in that we hadn't seen in a few years, and realized that with all the time and effort that we put in, that we needed to adjust it.
Oh, I just want to say that they should be looking at it annually. When they put their budget together, part of that is estimating their revenues as well. And sometimes it does come up during the year, like Paul was explaining, when a project comes in and then they're like, ooh, this is, taking a lot of time. But it really is something they should all be reviewing annually.
Thank you.
I think it's in our fiscal goals, fiscal policy that we do that, but when time permits. Other questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, folks. Come on up.
Hi, Peter Hansel, 61 Bradford Road. And I drew the short straw to come up and talk about this sustainability person, whatever the title is. I got a little confused with the fire and all that kind of stuff, but I'm here to talk specifically about the sustainability part of this person's job. And I think there are, everybody want to raise their hand? People, you can see a number of people here. We're not going to all get up and talk. They elected me to come up and say some things, although I think Chuck Redburn wants to say something also. But to give you a little perspective, I'm probably the senior member of these people that are back here. But I've been watching Keene on its journey towards sustainability since 2000, about basically 25 years. And if we look at the goals that the city have set for itself to be 100% renewable energy by 2050, we're halfway towards that mark, pretty much. We're about a little over halfway towards the electrical side of transition. We want to be at 100% renewable by 2030. I've heard comments saying, well, that's just aspirational. I don't see it as aspirational. I think it's a goal that we can achieve, and we're doing a heck of a good job at doing it. I want to commend the City Council and the Planning Department for what they have accomplished so far. I also want to say that the Energy and Climate Committee, which I'm not an official member of, but I have been for over 7 years in the past, and I still attend many of their meetings, but they have devoted more than 100 hours a year in their own time to try and see this goal achieved. They can't do it on their own, though. They need help, as much help as people like Mary Brunner and Megan Fortson have given us. We can't do it on our own, and having a person devoted to helping achieve the sustainability goals would really give us a kickstart to achieve that those energy goals that we've set for ourselves as a city. Keene is the leader in this in the state, and in many ways a leader. When we first joined Cities for Climate Protection back in 2020 or whenever, or 2001 or so, back there under Mayor Blastos, we were the smallest city in the country to sign up for that, and one of the first in New Hampshire to do that. So we've taken a lead for many years to achieve our energy objectives, and I'm just so pleased, with help from the community to help finance this leap. I'm so pleased that you're considering doing this, and I hope it passes. Thank you.
Thank you,
And
Peter.
I think Chuck wants to say something.
Chuck Redfern, 9 Colby Street. This project just didn't come about on short order. It's been going on for about 3 years that we've been at least discussing it. And I believe 2 years, I haven't read the report, the initial report that I submitted to the committee to pass on to staff about the salary requirements of such a position that's been held in Portland, Maine for quite a few years. And they found out that the investment was so rigorous in returns that they actually hired 2 more to add, and we're not asking for 2 more, just to make that clear. But one I was assured by the sustainability coordinator that the position will pay for itself several times over in savings to the taxpayers. So I felt that was important to bring that message to this council. And as a matter of fact, it's not just Portland, but they have a regional group of sustainability officers including Portland, but in the surrounding communities that engage in the similar activities as what the main coordinator does. And unfortunately, the program that supported that was called AmeriCorps. And as you know, AmeriCorps has been under downward pressure for budgeting. And I don't even know if it still exists or not, but it wouldn't surprise me that a few of the other committees, and this is just speculation on my part, have picked up and continued the work that was being done under the AmeriCorps banner. So that's not an option for us. It's going to have to be, and you want the control here local at the city level. I would hope, and this is slightly different tack than I think what our committee discussed, and I hope you forgive me for this, but I do think this sustainability position should at least occasionally attend some of the committee meetings of the ECC, understanding that the management of that position falls within the realm of the community development department and not of the committee. He's not going to be getting, he or she, I'm sorry, is not going to get directions from multiple folks as to how to carry out their job. But there should be some kind of coordination, understanding, at least understanding as to what both arms of the effort are doing. And so that completes my report as I saw it. And hopefully the city manager found it helpful when I turned it in the effort to, as you analyze what was going on in Portland, Maine. And there was no taxpayer dollars in that research. That was all on my dollar. So, and I was glad to do it. Thank you.
Thanks, Chuck.
I just want to make sure that it's clear to the council that this position is already a 30-hour planner position, and that we would just be adding 7.5 hours to make it a full-time position. So it's stepping into the sustainability role, not all completely sustainability. So a portion of the time will be divided between the two. This was, I think, the easiest way for us to make it work. We initially looked at splitting the cost of a separate sustainability position, and we weren't able to get the commitments that we needed in terms of the numbers that were needed to do that. And so this was a good first step for us. Yep, yeah.
I just wanted to acknowledge former city councilor Chuck Redfern for, you have given so much to this city and you'd never stop. And it never amazes me how much you put into not just coming before us, but the research and the preparation to deliver us or help us and support us in the direction that we want to move. But, you know, you're such a committed, dedicated member of our community, and I just wanted to thank you.
Could you name something other than a bridge?
That was the state.
Anything else for community development? Thank you. Library. There she is. Page 110. 110.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and members of the council. You've been patient, and we appreciate all of your time, both tonight and in general. I'm William Stroop. I am chair of the Library Board of Trustees, here with Library Director Marty Fisk to talk about this year's budget, and I'll briefly introduce just a couple of points as we move along. The library will be honored one of the awards from the past year, the Cheshire County Conservation District 2026 Community Partner of the Year, which will be presented at their annual meeting in October. And then this body will be asked to accept a grant at the coming Thursday meeting from the New Hampshire Humanities Community Building, a grant for 2 programs which will be done in partnership with multiple community organizations, and that kind of collaboration that's been so key to the library. I'd also point out, thinking about last year's budget into this year, that the transformation of the makerspace staffing to the year-round part-time role as part of the operating budget, instead of college interns and some of the interruptions there, allowed makerspace usage to increase by 62% over the last year, which we were very, very pleased to find. We're also finding new ways for volunteers to continue to serve and to reach members of the community of all ages and abilities, especially expanding a home delivery volunteer program that's already starting to work with 2 of our senior communities in town, and continuing to work to expand that for more individual services. And again, I think to follow with the theme of collaboration, you've already seen from the CIP discussion the role that the trustees, along with the Friends of the Library, have been able to work on along with the city towards some of the lighting plans that we have going forward. So we are grateful for the ongoing support and the opportunity to serve the city in the ways that the library has been able to do, and then think of new ways to meet modern demands as well. So with that, I'll turn to Marty.
Good evening, everyone. So the revenues and expenditures that I'll talk about tonight are all based on costs from last fiscal year and year-to-date costs of the current fiscal year. The library does not propose any changes in our personnel for the next year. The only increases in expenses are those costs associated with existing personnel. All of the other expenditures for the FY27 budget is actually a net decrease. So I'll focus on just those areas that are changing. For revenue, there is one piece that is not reflected in the budget proposal in front of you,
and that is that at the last month's meeting, the trustees voted to approve a $5 a year increase in our non-resident access fee. So that will go into effect as of July 1st. Our rental incomes, we expect to increase by about $300. Rental revenues for that line are only for private uses of the meeting rooms in the main library. At this point, that's the Miller Vincent Room and the Huntress Auditorium. All of the other meeting rooms and the event halls have the funds captured in what's called the Heberton Fund, and that fund is used for maintenance and improvements of that newer section of the building. So that's not reflected in that rental line. We have been seeing an increased use as a regional conference center, and some of those conferences have included breakouts. And so the Miller Vincent Room and the Huntress Auditorium are expected to see increased use as those breakouts for regional conferences. For expenses, we are asking for an increase of $200 for meetings and dues. That reflects the increase in membership costs for interlibrary loan services. And for library software, it's a decrease of $7,308. That's because there is some software that was removed with the closure of the book jobber, Baker & Taylor, that we had. The proprietary software is no longer available to us. We've had to make some substitutions, and in one case, we just had to go without. There was nothing that met that equality of service. All of our other subscription costs were updated with increases for FY26, with an expected increase of 5% for FY27. That's the industry standard. So the reason why we're able to keep all of our costs down is because of the tremendous community support that we have had. The cost of services are much more sustainable for the residents of Keene because of that. As Bill mentioned, the Friends of the Library and the trustees provide 100% of our library programs, and last year, or FY25 rather, 3.1% of our overall library operating budget. For the Friends of the Library, that was over $60,000 in support of programs, equipment, maintenance of that equipment, makerspace staff, and popular museum passes. The library trustees provided over $21,000 for staff education, equipment, and special projects. In addition, we have volunteers who are working over 30 hours a week, mostly giving assistance for directions and overseeing the atrium spaces. And that saved us $17,000 in estimated annual labor costs. We also have partnerships with a variety of community organizations and individuals who provide programs to the library at no cost and provide free resources. So we're trying our very best to be good stewards with the valuable resources that the city has, and we're very grateful for the support of the city manager, the council, and the community. Are there any questions that you have for us?
Questions?
I'm afraid it's not a question, but I just have to say, this library, your collaborations, your partnerships, I remember walking in one day and seeing lunch bags that children could go home with that had food for dinner that night. I understand that it's an extremely complex milieu, per se, of agreements and creative combinations of services, and I just can't thank you enough for the regional effect that this library has, and in particular to our citizens. I know it's not an easy row to hoe, given social changes, but you're doing a fabulous job that I really would like to commend everyone there for. Thank you.
Yeah, I just have a question. I don't know if this is good or bad. Under libraries overdue, or overdue books, whatever, resources, maybe videos, I don't know. 2023-24, like 10,000, and now it's in half. In one way, I'd say that's good, but then I don't know whether to interpret that less people are taking out less books or less library resources.
Well, we think it's a good thing. So what that is it's overdue fees for any library material. We do still charge fees. It's something that ideally I'd like to see us stop doing. We are among the very few libraries in the state that still collect overdue fees. It disproportionately affects people of lower income who have less ability to get into the library, transportation issues, etc., homebound people. It has gone down over the years because it's so much easier for people to access online to renew their library books. So, first it was you could access it through the internet. Now you can access it through your telephone and, Wi-Fi, whatever. So it makes it very much easier. We also did make a change, and we did allow automatic renewals, giving 1/2 of the term that they originally took the item out, automatically renewing it for 1/2 of that period if no one else is waiting for it. We decided that we want to see the books in the hands of people, not sitting on our shelves. So if there's no one else waiting for the book and you need an extra week with that new book that originally was a 2-week loan, then go ahead and take that extra week. We'd like to have people have that ability.
This is much ado about nothing, but years ago I lost my library card. And then I got a bill from the library for like 7 books that there were nothing that I would ever take out. Luckily, it got forgiven, but like I said,
Mistakes
much
do
ado about
happen.
nothing, but kind of fun to share.
Yeah. And we will, even if we are able to eventually do away with these overdue fines, that would not stop us from charging for lost or damaged materials. That's an entirely different subject. So if you were to, your child was to spill Kool-Aid on that book, they would still be charged for replacing that book, or if it was lost or damaged. But we're talking, most of the time when people have overdue materials, they're overdue by just a few days.
Thank you all very
Thank
much.
you. I'm sorry? Oh.
Sorry, me again. So one thing that I know you just went over a lot of really important facts and figures, but I did highlight the line that says that last year the library returned over $3 million in direct services to residents, achieving a 114% return on investment. I just feel like that's a really important thing to share in the larger amount there. Also, a thank you, because my civic engagement started because of criticism of the library, and I just really appreciate everything you guys do for the community, and I think you create a space for everybody, and I just really appreciate that. So thank you. And that's all. No actual question.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening. I know we're getting right towards the end of the night, so I'll make sure that we are as efficient as we can be. My name is Kara Fisk-Hennessy. I am the Parks and Recreation Director, and I'm very thankful to be here on behalf of our incredible team. We have all of our managers in the audience this evening. Our Parks and Cemeteries manager, Pepper Anderson, is here. Our recreation programmer, who is almost officially 6 months into the position, Jason Netto, is here. And our youth services manager, who actually has the longest term of service in our department, Alyssa, is here. So we're very, very thankful for our team. Keene Parks and Rec is an essential part of our city community engagement in terms of accessible and intergenerational programs and events, community services, which includes cemeteries, juvenile court diversion, wellness education, and community spaces with our parks, trails, fields, playgrounds, and pools. So when we were going through this exercise for strategic budgeting, we made a one-page handout. It's not the book that I handed out last year. So it is a one-page handout that has a lot of our metrics on the front and then our points of pride on the back. And I'm more than willing to share this with everybody. If you don't mind just giving me a second. So what you'll see on this handout is that we are responsible for a lot of things, a lot of different areas, and a lot of wonderful experiences for our community our community that lives and works and plays in the city of Keene. We are asking for a very small increase in our operating budget. It actually comes out to 0.34% increase of our total budget for this year, and it's for $8,105. That $8,105 is truly related to our parks line, and it goes towards maintenance and grounds. We are asking for a $5,500 increase in our maintenance and grounds, part of our parks line, because the New Hampshire DES has doubled the dam permit fees. So we are responsible for 2 dams, and those 2 dams used to be $3,000 and now they're $6,000. So we're asking for the increase to cover that. We're also asking for an increase of $1,440 for our water fees. What we thought was going to happen with Russell Park and the turf establishment costs out there, we thought we would realize a 50% reduction from 25-26, and the actual reduction was 24.5%. So this $1,440 will actually cover those costs. And then in terms of supplies, for the past few years, we have been running a little bit over budget, so we're asking for a 3% increase of $1,165 to fund that line at $40,050 total. So those are our supplemental requests. We also have one that we spoke with the city manager's office about that's become more of an urgent matter, and it's not in this budget book. So the Sumner Night Chapel has been out of service for over a year now because the boiler needs to be replaced. And it's become more of an urgent matter because the building itself will slip into a further state of deterioration if we don't tackle that soon as we possibly can. So what we're actually asking for is an additional $15,000. The boiler replacement cost has been quoted at $19,400. We also are going to meet with the cemetery trustees next week to request more funding from them as well.
Thank you.
We also have good news. We will be we'll be realizing some additional revenue through increased opportunity and programming. We recently found out that the school district's after-school program is sunsetting, so we will be opening up additional opportunities for after-school program children to access, which is really wonderful. And we have added in new camp options, so what has traditionally been an 8-week summer camp, we've added in additional opportunities for 2-week summer camps for the families that aren't able to commit to 8 weeks, and that has helped us bring in some additional revenue as well. Thank you.
Yeah, right, too. Yeah. But maybe not for tonight. Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the council. Thank you for the opportunity to present the Facilities Department operating budget. Andy Bohannon, Deputy City Manager. Our operating budget is on page 123 through 132, which is going to cover your narrative, your metrics, and your goals, and then all of the operating. So I encourage you to take a peek at the narrative when you get a chance. You'll see, obviously, our supplementals within the operating side of things, but it's also highlighted on page 22. We good with pages?
126, there are pages in
Oh, okay, sorry.
They got the early edition.
Yeah. I'm just behind the times. We're good. So this year's request reflects real and growing pressures on our day-to-day operations across our municipal buildings. While capital planning remains important, tonight I want to focus on the immediate operational needs required to sustain essential
services and maintain safe, functional facilities for staff and the public. Over the past year, our team has continued to work within tight resource limits despite significant increase in market costs. Material goods, contracted services has risen between 5 and 25 or more %, putting considerable strain on our ability to maintain service levels with an improved operating budget. Perfect example was that this week when our elevator here at City Hall went down. We are then calling in a contractor from the eastern part of the state to come in and service that, and that's happened on more than one occasion this year, and that was not anticipated, and elevator calls are typically pretty expensive. So when you can't foresee those things, you get whacked pretty good. With that, without adjustments, rising costs, forced delays, and routine maintenance and require difficult decisions to avoid exceeding the resources allocated for basic operations. These pressures affect every building we manage: HVAC systems, janitorial supplies, water and sewer usage, ground maintenance, and equipment repair to all continue to experience cost escalation. In some cases, such as aging buildings, systems at the central fire station, it's hard to believe, but we have aging systems at the central fire station. Seems like yesterday we cut the ribbon, but it's getting there. And geothermal system at the Public Works and Police Department, that is actually over 25 years old and end of its useful life, and we need to replace some of those pumps. And increasing the contractor costs at City Hall, as I just mentioned. These increases are not optional, but essential to keeping the facilities functional, safely and reliable. To address these realities, facilities is requesting $39,000 in supplemental operating for FY27. This request is targeted, needs-based, and focused on sustaining core operations. And as I highlighted, you can find those in the supplemental area earlier in the book. But City Hall, just kind of highlight various supplements, additional equipment repair, funding for the HVAC systems, and just uniforms for our new facilities manager, Shane Baker, who has been doing an outstanding job since coming on board from the retirement of Scott Martin, who did a great job before him, and Shane's carrying that torch. The Transportation Center, we've worked with one of our tenants who put in some new equipment for their services, and it increased their water and sewer usage. And so we have adjusted, and they have voluntarily adjusted their payment to the city. So that was helpful. But again, their equipment that they're using is utilizing a lot more for what they're doing there. The library, the annual Heberton Hall floor maintenance. So this past weekend, we had it refinished. That should be done once a year. We hadn't done it up until this point. You can kind of like in the first 5 to 7 years of its life, kind of give it that opportunity to kind of settle. But once you get into that time frame, you really want to do it every year. That wasn't part of our budget, so we asked for that supplemental cost. So the next time you go into Heberton Hall, I bet you'll see a nice difference. The lobby, the main floor, and the stage were all completed, so they did a really great job. And then just ground supplies at the library. We do a lot of work with the trees around the library, and we want to make sure that we keep those healthy. And the elm tree that is in front of the library, we call it, actually not the elm, the oak tree, we call it the Thayer oak, and that's estimated to be about 160 years old. So we want to take good care of that and make sure that it still continues to live for a long time forward. In the Recreation Center, we had some ground maintenance needs in the fire station, equipment repairs at Central Station, and rising janitorial costs for both stations and just the amount of use that they use. In our airport janitorial supplies as well. Seeing a great deal of
more usage at the airport related to the restaurant and the bathrooms and that sort of thing. So, and then Public Works and Police, that's where your significant funding is coming from, with the request of the 25 for the repairs to the geothermal system, which is really kind of where we need to replace those pumps. So, and some additional janitorial supplies there. So, that's what we have for you tonight, and these are all just kind of like driving as we feel it at home in our pockets. Facilities feels it on a daily basis, like everybody else. So hopefully we're taking a more proactive approach. We utilize Cartograph. We're also looking at additional software or finding different metrics within our Tyler system to just kind of like drive home some of these cost-saving measures and utilizing just the various software packages that we do have, so we can be a little bit more proactive. And also related to the sustainability position, you have, that's something that we track as well, as far as our electric use and our water and all of that sort of thing in all of our buildings, in trying to save in many ways that we do. So I'm sure there'll be some type of coordination there as well. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those for you.
Questions? Very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you. The mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As I was disrupting the flow, not realizing what was coming after page 120-something, I wanted to ask, particularly for parks, the $15,000 that's needed for the furnace to restore the church and the furnace there. Is that in the budget? It's not. So that would be, is that eligible to tap into the cemetery fund to tap that? So it has no general fund impact.
So I think what I heard the Parks and Rec director say is she's going to ask for a contribution from the cemetery trustees. We don't know exactly how much that will be yet, but we are tracking the two changes tonight that we talked about. One was to training in the mayor and council budget, and then also the Sumner Night Chapel request.
Good. Thank you. And I just wanted to add to the community development story a little bit. You will recall a year ago we took up the base level energy community power rate, and at that time when we took up the 50% base fossil fuel non-fossil fuel mix as a base rate. At that point, I asked the city manager, let's convene a group of the energy sustainability organizations in our community. There are many. And we brought them together, and the part of the upshot is the city had done so much that was in the energy goals planning statement that extends to 2030, that it seemed that we needed our Energy and Climate Committee to take the time that remained in that plan to update our goals. And here's why. Part of what was in that plan, and you may recall, we distributed as a part of the justification for that was the old plan that was adopted, I think, 2019 around. And the city had upgraded its boilers in all of its facilities. The city had implemented a number of solar projects, including the one that we just did in the last year at the airport and bonded for, and it has terrific savings for the city. We had implemented the 50% base plan for non-fossil fuel mix. And we had accomplished so much of that plan, we needed to leapfrog. I'm really happy to see this devotion in this budget to try to support efforts that will allow us to establish a broader vision and add to the fact that we've accomplished a great deal of what was in that original plan, which isn't unusual, that if you put your mind to it, the things that you see in front of you are the things that you'll accomplish, and you can't see what's yet beyond you, and here we are 6 years later. Add to it the changes in state and federal policy that have really disrupted the landscape that might have been in place in 2019 or through 2024. I'm really pleased that we're going to take the opportunity that we have to advance our goals and maybe accelerate, have a 2028 plan. But let's get on a road that is got some vision to it, but also something that can be executed and continue to put us at the forefront. So thank you to the manager, thank you to the Community Development Office, and for bringing it forward, and I appreciate your efforts. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else? So we will be back here on Thursday, 5:30. Regular items in FOP first, and the rest of the budget scheduled. We're adjourned at 8:30.